I'm Jer Stays, and this is your Daily Detroit for Monday, the 10th of December.
And I'm Sven Gustafson, hollering at you from the University District. Let's get to it right after this word from today's show sponsor.
Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Milo Digital. Milo Digital is a full-service digital marketing agency that engineers quality results through data and innovative strategies. Learn more at milodetroit.com.
Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan and executives from 7 companies have announced a $35 million gift to the city's Strategic Neighborhood Fund. That's the $130 million program to invest in physical assets like housing, parks, and commercial retail corridors to strengthen neighborhoods. Duggan was joined at a news conference Monday at Artist Village in Old Redford by officials from American Axle and Manufacturing, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, Chemical Fifth Third Flagstar, and Huntington Banks, and Penske Corporation. Each company donated $5 million. The gift is said to be the largest ever corporate donation devoted to neighborhood development in Detroit. The money will be used to make physical improvements in 7 new areas under the Strategic Neighborhood Fund. On the west side are Grand River Northwest, Russell Woods Nardin Park, and Warrendale Cody Rouge. The east side neighborhoods of Jefferson Chalmers, Campo Banglatown, Gratiot 7 Mile, and East Warren Cadue will also join the program. Work will focus on improvements to public parks and streetscapes, filling vacant storefronts and lots in commercial areas, promoting affordable housing, and preserving and renovating vacant homes. City leaders say it's part of Mayor Duggan's so-called 20-minute neighborhoods, which calls for redeveloping neighborhoods into places where residents can walk or bike to do their errands, get to transit and visit a park, all within 20 minutes. The exact scope of the work will be determined after soliciting feedback from neighborhood residents. Here's Maurice Cox, the city's Director of Planning and Development.
And that's what we're here to do, to try to create a place where people can walk to all of the things they need right in their neighborhood. And to do that, you have to acknowledge that every neighborhood in Detroit is unique. And for planners to try to tap into that, you have to talk to the people who know their neighborhood best. And those are the folks in Detroit who have stayed the course, kept their neighborhoods strong, and now they hold all the secrets to what makes it special. So when the mayor talks about the dozens of meetings we've had, it's largely trying to understand from Detroiters what's the heartbeat, what's the soul of their neighborhood, and how we can amplify that, how we can reinforce that.
The Strategic Neighborhood Fund has so far focused its work in the 3 neighborhoods of Livernois-McNichols, Southwest West Verner, and Island View Greater Villages. Improvements already completed or underway in those neighborhoods include the new Ella Fitzgerald Park in the Fitzgerald neighborhood, not too far from us, the co-development in West Village, and improvements to Clark Park in Southwest Detroit. The $35 million donation announced Monday is expected to leverage another $70 million in private investment. It'll also trigger the city's Affordable Housing Leverage Fund, which aims to preserve 10,000 affordable housing units and create 2,000 more.
That affordable housing portion is a key piece of information, as there's a bunch of housing units in hot Detroit neighborhoods that will become market rate or unsubsidized in the next few years. Not to mention, I know it's a lot of banks in there. Could they be helping to jumpstart their own markets later? If those areas turn around, they're going to need mortgages and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so true. This seems like a pretty smart strategy and something that frankly builds off of the work of former Mayor Dave Bing, the Detroit Future City initiative. You remember that? I mean, I think a lot of the ideas for this were kind of spelled out. And you know, if you just look at Detroit's a very sprawling city. I mean, you know, the intent of this obviously is to focus redevelopment efforts on something other than the downtown, which is seeing plenty of it, right? Detroit is, I think, trying to follow the example of similarly sprawling cities like LA that are thriving by kind of focusing efforts on their sort of far-flung little commercial clusters. I mean, Detroit's a city with lots of these. A lot of them have fallen into disrepair, but I think it's a smart strategy to kind of focus on trying to fix them up and build them into economic sort of centers. The challenge, of course, is going to be 100% on execution here and making sure that the money they're spending on this does exactly what it intends to do, and that is to spark private investment.
Downtown Royal Oak is getting a new addition to their restaurant scene. The national outfit Condado Tacos is moving into the space formerly held by the B-Spot at 310 South Main Street. Talking with the company, I've learned that Condado, which specializes in build-your-own tacos with creative names, is aiming for opening in May of 2019. There's a ballad-style menu in which you fill in the bubble next to what you want, and a bunch of ingredients from the traditional to the, well, not so much. Of course, there's stuff like chorizo, but also apparently sausage, gravy, and biscuits. Other options include ghost pepper steak, shrimp ceviche, and barbecue pulled jackfruit. There will be some Detroit-specific menu items and art that'll be in the space, but we haven't gotten hold of the details on that just yet. There's also going to be booze, of course, with a focus on tequila and margaritas. Condado's CEO says that downtown Royal Oak is, quote, thriving, and they're excited to open their first Metro Detroit store. Their first location was in Columbus, Ohio, and they're in a variety of cities, including Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, as well as a city name that I just find entertaining, Broad Ripple. Is this a turnover in the scene in Royal Oak, Sven?
Well, we've certainly seen a lot of restaurants close there, right? I mean, Andiamo, Beirut Palace, B-Spot, which this taco place will take over, Cantina Diablos, La Dolce. A lot of them have been kind of tied to the whole parking imbroglio going on in Royal Oak. You know, people are freaking out about parking and having to walk a couple blocks from their parking garage. But, you know, I think it's just kind of a reset. I mean, Royal Oak's going to remain a strong restaurant scene with all the new developments coming online, some of the new office buildings and everything. I mean, don't forget there's a Henry Ford medical complex planned. I think that's going to really help to kind of spur demand there for dining options. So. The founder and artistic director of one of Detroit's best-known nonprofits is stepping down. Rick Sperling is announcing his retirement next year after 27 years at the helm of Mosaic Youth Theater of Detroit. That's the internationally renowned out-of-school creative youth development organization. You've no doubt seen Mosaic students perform at some event or another in Detroit. They've also performed at the White House, the Kennedy Center, and many other places. Rick Sperling joins us now by phone. Rick, welcome to Daily Detroit.
Glad to be here.
And I guess congratulations are in order. I guess that's what people say when you announce your retirement.
It is congratulations. It's a great thing. That doesn't mean that I don't have a million different emotions, but I'll take congratulations.
Yeah. So before we kind of get into all that, could you sort of give us a rundown of what Mosaic Youth Theater of Detroit is all about for people who aren't familiar?
Mosaic is a creative youth development organization that serves more than 500 young people from more than 50 different schools throughout Metro Detroit, the city and the surrounding suburbs. And it's really intense professional level training in acting, vocal music, and technical stagecraft. But it beyond learning those skills, it also really empowers young people to be able to find their voice, to be able to learn how to work together, collaborate, critical thinking, creativity, all the things that we think are important in youth development to make successful adults. We've been around for almost 27 years now, and we have alumni who have gone on to be on Broadway, in major television shows, movies, been nominated for Tony and Emmy Awards, but we're just as proud of the fact that our alumni go on to become very successful lawyers, teachers, social workers, nonprofit professionals, designers, And the statistic that we're most proud of is that more than 95% of the young people who have performed for Mosaic have gone to college.
Mm-hmm. So that all sounds great. You're a fairly young guy, just 52, right?
Yes.
So why are you retiring?
Well, one of the things that really impacted me when I started Mosaic was that I had a conversation with this woman named Shirley Harbin, who's in her 90s now, but she was a fixture in the Ann Arbor Recreation Department and all youth arts programs that happened for about 50 years. And I asked Shirley to tell me about the history of youth arts in Detroit, so I knew what I was getting myself when I was starting Mosaic. He told me these incredible stories about these wonderful programs in the parks, in the schools, but it all kind of, after 7 years, the founder moved to New York and the program died. And after 11 years, the funding ran out, or the founder got ill and the program died. And I realized that there was really no programs in Detroit that had lasted. And I just made it my own personal mission to create an organization that would be around for the grandchildren of those first members that I was working with. We have successfully made it to the children of the first members that I worked with 26 years ago. But really, for the organization to be sustainable, essential that we pass the baton to the next generation. One of the things that is key for organizations and sustainability is the succession of the founder. That seems to be the place that many organizations struggle with. And if an organization doesn't last, it's because they don't do that well. Well, we thought this was really an ideal moment because we really felt that we had someone within the organization who was prepared to take the organization to the next 26, 27 years. That is Delishay Strotter, who started as a member of Mosaic in 1999. And that was always my dream. Alumni. That was, our goal. Our mission is to empower young people to maximize their potential through the arts. And we often talk about the young people are taking over the theater. Well, you can't do it any more than that, than to have one of those alumni become the leader. And, she's just not only a musical genius, but she has these leadership abilities that the young people and the staff are just drawn to. So we felt this was the right moment for me, the right moment for the organization, the right moment for Delishay to do this, to make sure that the organization is going to last for many, many years to come.
Mm-hmm. Also sounds like Mosaic, you'll be sort of dividing your sort of operational and artistic duties between two people moving forward. Is that right?
That's right. We around our 25th anniversary, we started talking about succession. And one of the things that we noticed is that for organizations to be effective, you needed this split. Most of the major theaters, from the Public Theater in New York to the Steppenwolf in Chicago, all have this artistic director, executive director, co-leadership model. And it's very important to make sure that the art and the impact of the programs is strong, and to also have the business side. But it's even more important when you're coming from a founder. So the late David DiChiara, who was a tremendous mentor to me and so many other arts leaders in Detroit, I talked to him about this once when he was talking about his succession. And he said, well, what he's realized is that you can't replace a founder with one person. You have to replace a founder with two people, because the founder by necessity has to do all of the art side and all of the business side. That's not a real sustainable model. It's a really, it's a really challenge for one person to do, but it's also virtually impossible to find another person who can do those same things unless they were the founder. So we went to this dual leadership model a couple years ago, but that really prepared us for succession, so that when I left, Delishay could step into this role of artistic director, and Stephanie Worth, our executive director, who has a wealth of experience in nonprofit marketing, business, communications, is ideally suited to handle the organizational components, so that the transition would be very, very smooth and much more sustainable.
How has Mosaic changed, since you launched it way back in 1992? And, what do you feel that you're most proud of?
Well, it was interesting. When we started the organization in 92, it was really about this lack of arts education experiences because the schools had lost most of their programs. And we just felt that we needed to have training for young people to be performers. And around 5 years in, we realized from the evaluations we were getting, from the conversations we were having with young people, that the program was actually having an even more profound impact than we thought. It wasn't just about developing artists, it was about developing people. And, we had surveys where young people said, I wouldn't be going to college if it wasn't for Mosaic. And others who even said, I don't think I'd be alive right now if it wasn't for Mosaic. And that really hit us, and we changed to really focus on being intentional about how this worked. And it's not watering down the art. The art has to be excellent, but by doing this work, the impact that it has on a whole person, and we've seen that in our alumni. Very, very proud. We have 2 alumni on Broadway right now. 1 alumni with a permanent role now in NCIS, but we also have alumni who are in all different professions. And I had a great talk with one of our alumni who is an attorney in New York, and he basically said everything that's leading to my success right now is what I learned at Mosaic, in terms of having my voice, standing up for what I believe, being able to work with other people and collaborate. So I think that what I'm really most proud of is what our alumni have accomplished in the world and how this has affected them as adults. But part of that is also the fact that they had incredible experiences. We like to see ourselves as the goodwill ambassadors for Detroit. We have toured to Africa, Asia, Europe, 25 states around the country. I think you mentioned White House, the Kennedy Center, the Apollo Theater, the Public Theater in New York, the Millennium Dome in London. Those experiences where you are expected to perform on the highest level, and at the same time realize that you have the potential to be seen as ambassadors for Detroit, ambassadors sometimes for the United States when we've competed at the World Choir Games and brought back gold medals and silver medals. So I'm proud of all those accomplishments, but those accomplishments connect directly to the lives that our young people live as adults after they're done. So I think my greatest pride is in the impact we have made on our alumni.
So you're staying on until September. What comes after that? What's next for you?
So I will be Deela Shea will be artistic director, but I will until September be directing, writing, working with the young people, and also consulting with the Detroit Public Schools Community District. I'm focusing on the superintendent has brought me in to work on enhancing the Detroit School of the Arts and the feeder schools that lead into it. And I will be continuing that work on more of a full-time basis after August, when I am officially retired in September. And that work is really exciting. It's very connected to the mission of Mosaic to empower young people through the arts. And after that, one thing I am doing is keeping a connection to Mosaic and our alumni by producing a summer alumni and community musical, which I will direct at the Detroit Institute of the Arts every summer. every August, even in my retirement. I'm an alumni, so working with alumni makes sense now. And this summer is going to be really exciting. We're going to be able to bring back one of probably our most popular, most influential show, a show called Now That I Can Dance, Motown 1962, which is the story of the Marvelettes in the early days of Motown. And so I'll be excited to have that experience every summer and continue to advise the organization and to be an ex officio member of the board. So I'll my heart will still be there, and I'll still be involved every summer. But whatever I do, I think it's going to still be about empowering young people in Detroit through the arts.
Oh, sounds good. And we look, we're glad to keep you around town. Rick Sperling is the founder of Mosaic Youth Theater of Detroit. Rick, congratulations and thanks for talking with us today. Okay, friends, that'll do it for today's episode. I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jer Stays.
Love our show? We're powered by you. Sign up for our monthly Patreon membership, and you'll help keep this podcast and our newsletter humming. We have some cool rewards for you, too. You can find that at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.